One pot meal. Hi all, we're gonna make spaghetti the fast and easy way. A one pot meal. I'm gonna use a frying pan because it cooks nice and fast. Here we're adding 1 can of spaghetti sauce. Any type of sauce is fine. Here I added about 1 inch of water in the can just to get the rest of the sauce in the can. I would prefer to buy the sauce in a bottle because then you don't get the chemicals from inside the liner of the can. Okay, now we're adding some string beans. Rinse your string beans off. That takes a lot of the salt off of them. You don't need a strainer, just stick them underneath the faucet and rinse them out inside the can. You can add just about any type of vegetable to this. You know, carrots, green peppers, just about anything. Here I'm cutting up an onion. Onion and garlic are 2 things that I always add. Usually 1 onion is enough. If you're going to make a lot and store it in the refrigerator, usually it's the onion that smells a little funny after a few days. So chop it up as small as possible. That's when the health benefits of the onion really come out, is when you chop it up real small and you get that real tangy smell. That chemical reaction is the healthy stuff. Here I got a hunk of garlic, costs about $1. You only need like 2, 3, 4, 5 cloves of garlic, depending on how much you like. Stir your food a lot because once it starts to stick to the bottom of the pan, it'll burn. Cut off the outside of the garlic, that paper-like shell, and you only want the white part on the inside. If that white part is starting to go brown, or if it's starting to get a little mushy, throw it out, it's going bad. Some people like to use a garlic press. I have one, but my experience, it's just a big pain to use. Most of the garlic gets stuck inside the press, and then you end up fighting with the press for a while just trying to get the rest of the garlic out of it. So I don't bother with it. Just chop it up as small as possible. A few hunks of garlic won't hurt you, and it tastes pretty good. Always clean up as you go, then you don't have a big mess when you're done. I really like adding black olives to my spaghetti sauce. Some people don't like it, they think it adds a real odd taste, but I think it tastes great. Usually if I add broccoli or cauliflower, I'll chop it up real small, so you can't really even tell what type of vegetable it is. Always stir the pan, stir it a lot. Here we're going to add some whole wheat noodles. Whole wheat noodles are really healthy for you. Some people don't like them because they taste a little grainy, but that's just part of the noodle. There's Tommy. He always likes to get it in the videos. That cat eats better than me. I'm eating noodles and he has turkey and chicken and cheese. Okay, now we're going to add some spices. This is actually the best part because we take canned sauce and make it taste like home cooking. So basil, just add a little basil. I've probably put a little too much there. Italian seasoning is always great because then you know you don't miss nothing because everything's already in there. Parsley, I was just reading on parsley a few weeks ago and it's really healthy for you. I usually go with just a cap full there. I put in probably too much. Oregano is always a good one to add. Here I'm putting in more garlic. You know, I heard on Dr. Oz that he said the powdered stuff is the same as the regular stuff as far as spices in general. So I like to go with the fresh garlic though, but nothing wrong with using the powder. Go with the garlic powder, not the garlic salt. Food has enough salt in it, you don't need to add more salt. I put in a little olive oil just for taste, but it's really not necessary. I always like black pepper. I always add a little black pepper, but don't add too much. Part of the video I cut out while it was cooking, I added too much water. So now I'm throwing in some regular white noodles just to kind of thicken things up a little bit. I always love these elbow noodles. A box of those costs $1. You can eat on that for a month. Just use a couple weeks. What I've been doing lately is I actually use a measuring cup and I measure out 1 cup, and that seems to be the perfect size, especially if you're cooking for 2 people. You have enough for 2 people and a little bit left over. Always set the timer. Anything in a can needs to be boiled for at least 7 minutes to kill botulism and salmonella. If a can is bulging, the top of the can or the bottom of the can is bulging, throw it out, bring it back to the store. That means it's spoiled. But never eat anything straight out of the can. If there's something wrong with it, you'll get food poisoning. You can put the lid on it and that'll stop the water from boiling off because it keeps the steam inside the pan, and then you won't lose as much water. If it's too runny, if you added too much water, boil it, cook it without the lid, and then the more water will boil off, so it'll thicken up. Test the noodles with a fork. You might need to run the noodle under some cold water before you taste it. And you don't want to cook your noodles too much. You want them to be just a little hard before you stop the cooking, because even after you turn off the heat and take the pan off the burner, the noodles will keep cooking, and if you cook them too much, then they'll get mushy. Now, it's hard to get this right, that's why you got to set the timer. I made some of this just this afternoon, and then I used bigger noodles, and they turned out just a little hard because I didn't bother to set the timer. So. Don't leave a glass plate on top of a hot stove because it will crack. That happened to me a couple years ago. I was on the other side of the room and I heard something go bang, and I looked around and the plate was cracked in half. So I'm only doing this here because I'm keeping everything inside the video so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I used to do all this in 2 big pots. I'd cook a whole pound of macaroni, 2-3 cans of spaghetti sauce, and I'd have it in the refrigerator for a week. But after a few days it starts to taste a little funny. So now I just finally discovered, hey, I can do it all in one pan. It takes 15 minutes and I'm done, and every day I do it, it's fresh. Tastes a lot better, it's hot and it's fresh. So I would definitely recommend this for anyone. Here I'm adding some cheese. A jar of this cheese is only $1, but you can always buy a chunk. Get a small hand grater at the dollar store. Any type of cheese is fine. I think some of the cheese you buy, it actually says spaghetti cheese on it. But just ask the people behind the deli what type of cheese. I always like pepper. It's possible to put too much on it, so you really have to be careful. In those little plastic spice jars, that they have something called red hot pepper flakes. Those always work great. I wouldn't put them inside the sauce because that makes the sauce really hot, but if you just sprinkle them on top just a little bit, it tastes great. Okay, see ya. Thanks for watching. Bye.